the Center for Innovative Technology and Mach 37, Virginia's Cyber Accelerator, present Uniting Women in Cyber: Leadership, Innovation, Inclusion.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, fellow cybersecurity professionals. Thank you for making it out on such a beautiful day. We finally have some sunshine, and that lobby is just full of sunshine. I know it's hard to leave because most everybody else is on spring break getting their sunshine, but today we're getting ours. So great to have you all here. I want to applaud all of you for making it here. I know this is such a busy time of year with all the holidays and family and community and the ever churn of cybersecurity, so it never leaves us. So I think you're all rock stars. I just wanted to tell you all that. And I want this conference, as we all know, we're uniting women in cyber today. And I really want everyone to feel that they're part of this event. I want it to be very inclusive. Ed and I have talked a lot about that. This is about you and the community that we're building here and the ecosystem. And cybersecurity needs more women. So I think we're going to go to the next slide, Kate. Yep. And this is why. This is why we're all here today, because this is never stopping. And so we need to be collaborative and help this numbers to go down. So next slide, Kate. So and these numbers need to go up. We need to find and fill more of the jobs that are vacant out there. So you need to bring your friends, your community, people that you want to work with, that want to have fun and be part of cybersecurity, because it is a really fun, dedicated group of professionals that are in this industry. It's an industry that I chose to come into because of the people that I met, and like you. So, and later in the program, we're going to be talking to Liza Mundy is going to come up, and she's going to talk about the beginning of cryptology and cybersecurity. And hopefully, with awareness like that, we're going to raise these numbers, right? And so, with that, I guess we should talk a little bit about some numbers, and really understand. During World War II, we had 10,000 women as code girls, which Liza will tell us, and they were decrypting encrypted messages from Japan and Germany. And they did this. They didn't even know what they were going to do when they went to do it, but they rose to the cause. Just like a lot of us in this room, we always rise to the challenge. And there was another woman, too, that I wanted to bring up, Elizabeth Smith Friedman, who invented cryptology at the FBI. So we were all kids back then, and these things were going on. And now when we roll the clock forward, we see that we have a lot more talent and women coming into the industry, but our numbers don't reflect that. So the stats really today says 18% of women are going into math and science. Our STEM numbers are really low. And I was talking to a few of you before the conference saying one of the reasons for that may be because STEM is not united. So that's one of the things I would love some side discussions about STEM today, because we have a lot of people in this room that are focused on STEM. In 1984, 37% of women were entering math and science. How can that be that it's only 18 today? What's going on? So we need to have discussions on that. So today we're going to collaborate and really bring some of these topics that are important out, but we also want to have fun, and we want all of you to ask questions and be inclusive. This is your event. You came here today. Please participate. We've got some great people out in the lobby, too. There's lots of places for networking, so I'm hoping you all get something out of this. So right now I'm going to introduce my co-chair. That's Ed Elbrigo. He's the CEO and CEO for the Center for Innovative Technology in Virginia, and the executive chairman of Mach 37, our cyber accelerator here in Northern Virginia and Virginia. He is passionate about CIT's mission to accelerate innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic growth for all Virginians and the Commonwealth, across the Commonwealth. Prior to being at CIT, Ed was the COO of Hilltop Companies and a senior executive at Freddie Mac. He's held a variety of management and innovation leadership positions with companies such as Booz Allen and CSC. And he started his professional career launching people and rockets into space for NASA. So we want to hear more about that, Ed. That sounds really exciting. And he's a great guy to work with, and I've really enjoyed working with him and the rest of the CIT team, and I think we're really on to something here with building our ecosystem. So with that, I give it to Ed.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thanks. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to this inaugural event of Uniting Women in Cyber Symposium. We're so thrilled that CIT and Mach 37 could pull this all together and have this event. This is a critical topic for the industry, and we're going to hear all day long why it is and hopefully start talking about what we can do about it. CIT's mission, as Mary Beth has said, our job is to grow the Virginia economy. We do that by investing and accelerating innovation. We do it by growing ecosystems. We do it by making broadband more widely available across the Commonwealth, because that is a key underpinning for all of us. And with expanded broadband is going to come expanded cyber threats, so full-time employment for everybody here. But that is central to CIT's mission, economic growth and opportunity for everybody. Mach 37's mission, our subsidiary cybersecurity accelerator, its job is to launch the next generation of cybersecurity companies and build the cybersecurity ecosystem within Virginia and around this region. And it's been wildly successful, having invested in over 53 companies in just 4 years alone. CIT and Mach 37 together have invested in over 220 startups across Virginia. 60 of them have been cybersecurity startups. Some of them are here at various tables. They're going to be on speakers here. It's been tremendously powerful for Virginia and for this region. Our job to do that is to make sure Virginia is the leader in cybersecurity. And when you start looking at the various statistics around employment in Virginia, startup activity in Virginia, you could see why our job is to keep up that momentum on here. But how did we get here today? I want to take you a little bit through how we got here today. Mary Beth and I, Mary Beth has been helping us with building out the ecosystems, was having a discussion on what's next for the cybersecurity ecosystem. And when you do that, there are some really key important aspects of building an ecosystem. One of the key things on that is you must engage all the stakeholders, all of them, investors, corporations, academia, startups, government agencies, in a discussion of the topics that are critical to that industry. Topics can range from one that's important for CIT and Mach 37, venture investing in the area within the ecosystem is critically important. Another topic can relate to the disruption to an ecosystem by emerging technologies on that part. We see it every day all across the nation, all across the globe. And another topic is the social context in which an ecosystem exists. And it was the social context that Mary Beth brought up. Ed, there are few women in this cyber industry, one of the fastest growing industries in the world, and even fewer in leadership positions. So we discussed how CIT and Mach 37, through what we do, bringing together stakeholders, building ecosystems, what were we going to do about it? What could we do? And that led to this symposium. And what we did with that is we got a group of people together, and I tell you, many of you know Mary Beth. How we launched this thing was actually on 4 words. Okay, let's do it. I had no idea what I was getting into at that moment in time. I didn't really know what do it meant. What I asked her to do is, could you get with Priscilla Trimble and Kevin May and Jennifer O'Daniel, 3 of the CIT staff, and let's get going. Now, many of you know Mary Beth. That happened about 18 weeks ago, and it happened around noon. I remember finishing up my tuna sandwich, something like that. 7:30 the next morning, I get this call. Hi, Ed, it's Mary Beth, we got to talk. Right after we talked, I had lunch with Hema. I met with Rob at AWS. I met with the Northrop Grumman people at dinner. My colleagues at Reed Smith and I had drinks after dinner, and we're going on this stuff. Now, sponsorships. What should our goal be for sponsorships? And by the way, the venue, Priscilla thinks we ought to really have it in Tyson's Corner. And this is by 7:35, and my coffee cup hasn't even made it to my mouth yet. And that's what do it means. And from that point on, all of this just started to come together on there. But that wasn't enough. I mean, phenomenal energy. The CIT team has done a wonderful job bringing all this together, but we couldn't do it alone, and many of you here have stepped up to be volunteers. First for our advisory board, calling you up at the last minute. Can we get us together to talk about what should we be doing as far as speakers? What should the structure of this conference look like? Many of them also are working as volunteers for logistics today. Our friends at The Goal. They're manning the booths. They're making sure I get to where I need to go because I'm woefully inadequate at actually being in the right spot at the right time. So they were making really good about you have to have a mic, Ed, and you got to walk out there and say your piece and then get off right away if you could do that. Thank you. So that was really, really important. But that wasn't all of it. And what it really came down to, if we could, was our sponsors that I want to spend a few moments thanking and thanking them individually, and then we'll give them a round of applause at the end. Because truly it was this group, the people within those organizations that helped bring this about. Literally, some of them made sponsorships of committing thousands of dollars within days, some within weeks. And if you work in a large corporation, you know they had to be cutting through some budget process, some procurement process to make this all happen. So it's really because of those forward-thinking leaders and those organizations that we're here today. And I want to go over them with all of you before we move this on. Our anchor sponsors, Amazon Web Services, Northrop Grumman, the Northern Virginia Technology Council, and of course CIT and Mach 37. I'll have to admit that was relatively easy for me to decide that we were going to sponsor the event. Our contributing sponsors and member, Leidos, Houlihan Lokey, Morgan Lewis, and the MITRE Corporation. The MITRE Corporation has been phenomenal in supporting cyber ecosystem activity all around the region, all around the nation. They've just really been phenomenal in stepping it up. I also want to thank our supporting sponsors, AMCUS, Booz Allen and Hamilton, CompTIA, Crowell Mooring, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, who was one of the first ones to really sit down with us and say, we got to make this happen. Farsight Security, Reed Smith, VeriSign, and Wilmer Hale. And finally, our supporting organizations, Avison Young, CATSI Consulting, The Goal, they've been phenomenal with stepping up to provide us people and support for this. The Valo has been outstanding. This is a wonderful. Now, I will have to admit, in one more minute, so when I told people, like some of the people around here, we're going to have it at the Valo, many people thought we were going to Boston. And they said, where the heck is the Valo? Well, think Gannett, and that's where we are. But I think it's a phenomenal facility, and we'll be doing more here. And so let's all please join me in a round of applause for all of our sponsors, because they're really the ones that have made this happen. But you're not here really to hear me. There's phenomenal speakers coming up after me, so I want to get this kicked off, and let's start it off with our first speaker. She's an extraordinary person. Again, one of the first people to step up and really say, we've got to make this happen, and did it very rapidly. I'm thrilled to introduce our first speaker, Linnie Haynesworth, Vice President, General Manager, Cyber and Intelligence Mission Solutions, the Northrop Grumman Mission Systems Corporation. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Linnie Haynesworth to kick off our event for us. Thank you, Linnie.
Thank you for the nice introduction. I appreciate it very much. And I am very pleased to be here with you all today to talk about something that's really important to all of us, but specifically something that's important to me and to our company, and that is diversity and cybersecurity. So I'll start by saying we all know that's a problem and a challenge for all of us, regardless of the industry that we're in. Our government customers, every industry representation in terms of customer set is challenged by cyber threat. And that's driven primarily as we move more and more into a digital environment, we have more and more exposure. We're faced by a common threat, and that's the cyber foe, our common adversaries, who really spend an enormous amount of time, energy, focus, and they are persistent in challenging all of our infrastructures and our environments. And to be able to respond to that, to protect our data, to support our customers collectively, we have to have a workforce that knows how to respond and provide capability to prevent the cyber catastrophe that's a threat to all of us. When we look at that workforce, critical to everyone, we just see there's just not enough. There's not enough of technical population of people in every industry and across every customer set. So our common need is to get more people, more capability applied to the problem. And how do we do that? We have to have all hands on deck. And today, all hands aren't. We have a population shortage in general. And by next year, lots of estimates about the number of millions of people that we need that we do not have in the cybersecurity business arena. But when we look at the number of women in cybersecurity, I just have to share some data that's disturbing, right? We have 50% of the folks in college are women. We have 20% or so of the folks in the workforce are women. And then as we move to a place where we need to dynamically address threats, we not only need scale in terms of number of people in the workforce, but we need leaders. So when we look for leadership, period, where women are represented, there's a shortfall there too. Although better, it's just not where it needs to be. So, a few data points, because I'm an engineer and data is important. A few data points for you. Women hold 26, that's 5% of the CEO positions at all the S&P 500 companies. Only 26% of people employed in computer and math occupations are women. And as I mentioned, 50% of the college graduates are women. Not a good outlook. Not where we need to be, and it won't allow us to be collectively successful in executing our business needs. So, what do we do? How do we get after it? When I look at Northrop Grumman, and Northrop Grumman is a global security company. Many of my Northrop Grumman colleagues are here today. There we go. We have taken that on, and we've taken it on not just because it's a good thing to do. We've taken it on because there's a business outcome associated with doing it right. And it's a good thing to do. Our CEO, Wes Bush, made diversity a critical business measure for the company and all the leaders 5 years ago. We've been on a track to address the gap as well as develop leaders across the board to get after all of the technical problems we have, because at the bottom line, we're a technology company. And just like many of you in any industry that you represent, finance, healthcare, wherever you sit, there's a need for technology support to address our customers' needs. So when I think about our customers' needs, the things that we hear about relative to cyber are rapid response required, innovative thinking to problem solve, not doing things the way we've done them in the past, repeating what we've done in the past to be quite successful is not good enough going forward. And when we have that common conversation about those demands and challenges, it quickly drives to people. And how do we get innovative thinking, divergent thought, challenging messages into conversations? It's because we get divergent people and different thought brought to the table to participate in conversations. I mentioned we're a data-oriented company, so we measure everything we do. And our company has measured performance against team makeup. Diverse teams do better. Now, that's just not a Northrop thing. It's a thing. Diverse teams perform better. Another place we've taken a look at the data is when we've taken on challenges, first-time work that's never been done before, technology that's new to the marketplace. And we have, I'll say, bumps on the road, because anybody who's taken on a hard problem has had some bumps. I have. We find that the recovery, that the thought about how we address a problem, the rapid response is different based on the team makeup and the level of divergent and different and diverse thought brought to the problem solving. So we know there is a business outcome that comes from having a strong, diverse team. And the next thing I would add is it's not just diversity for diversity's sake, because you can have a team that makes up a complement of different backgrounds and have, I'll say, measures that indicate that things are going well. But if nobody listens to them, if nobody hears their thought, if nobody includes them in the conversation and responds to their input, they may as well not be there. So the inclusion piece is something else that we measure. We look to see how well teams respond to input, how open leaders are to hearing from others, and how comfortable people on the teams feel about speaking and sharing their thoughts, even if they're different from the leader's thoughts. These are elements of the approach that we've taken to getting after diversity and inclusion, but also realizing the technology outcome of having a diverse and inclusive team. So when I think about that, I think about what we've done internally. We also recognize that we need to do something externally. And I'm sure many of my peer companies and many of you represented here also do things to help feed that pipeline, to draw people into STEM, to draw people into cybersecurity. And we do that with purposeful intention to prove and demonstrate an outcome and then repeat that and try to take that to scale. Some of those things include providing curriculum for cybersecurity, like we've done with George Mason. Some of them include leading the cybersecurity experience program for honors students at other universities like UMBC and driving a program that brings cybersecurity to every kind of curriculum. Many people from different curriculums can join that program as an honors student. And the results that come from that. But not just doing it ourselves, but taking it to scale so that other companies can join that too. So it doesn't help if we do it alone. We all have to participate together. Another area that we've focused on is Cyber Patriot program that we do in concert with the Air Force Association. And that's one area where, when we started, we saw very few young women in that program. And now, with many thousands of teams competing every year, we have seen a significant drive up in the number of young women who are in that program. So outcomes can be achieved, but they need to be taken to scale so that we can see a real change and a real drive to results in the number of women represented in STEM. So I have a question for you, and that is, what can you all do? So there's a long list of things that can impact women, not only in leadership in the companies that you represent today, in classrooms and universities and high schools all over the nation and for us around the world. But there are things that you can do as individuals where you sit in terms of leading women, providing opportunities for them to be heard, to provide opportunities to be mentored, to give them a boost of confidence around their leadership roles. There's a way that you can scale that in terms of your engagement with your companies and how companies participate in many of the opportunities to bring more women into the cybersecurity realm. And when I say that, I have to think back to how it happened for me and the number of occasions where somebody identified potential that I did not see, and occasions where somebody invited me in to observe something I would not have normally observed, and somebody identifying ways and methods for me to develop a skill set that was not part of my initial nominal training as an electrical engineer at the University of Southern California. So I have to say, and I would encourage everyone here to be an individual advocate for people around you, but to scale, to invite your companies, the organizations you support, the teams that you work with, to do that as well, and to band together to do that wherever we can, because a program that Northrop starts and another company joins is only better when more companies join it. A program that another industry starts and we learn about can be better when we all join. So as a common team in an industry that's in dire need, I'd ask that you jump in, look for ways to be that individual coach and leader for people in cybersecurity, but that you also jump in to drive your organizations, your teams to scale up and find ways to bring more and more women who are highly capable to the task. Thank you.